This man managed to forge over 10 billion rupees, all with nothing but a pencil. Even the most advanced banks and money counters couldn't tell his fakes from the real deal. But here's the kicker, the new rupee notes are so intricately designed that even top-tier printers can't replicate them without glitches. If printers were people, they'd probably go cry in a corner. So how did he pull it off by hand? Simple, he's been a drawing prodigy since childhood. While other kids played with crayons, he was out there perfecting counterfeit masterpieces. With a talent for forgery baked into his DNA, he turned fake money into a fine art. Just like that, the first sketch of a counterfeit bill was born. In a country like India, where the caste system has divided people for centuries, the poor are always the ones being exploited and stomped on. Meanwhile, the rich? They just keep getting promoted, born in a palace, die in a palace. Sunny and Force were two kids from the working class, forced to hustle from a young age just to survive, all while nurturing big dreams. But fate had other plans, dragging these two into the underworld of counterfeit money, their quickest shot at escaping the slums. They didn't want dirty hands, but debt waits for no one. Sunny had always had a knack for business. While other kids were out playing after school, Sunny and his buddy Fuss were peddling leftover newspapers from his grandfather's press. Young entrepreneurs in the making, selling news people never read. Ironically, most buyers didn't even care about the headlines. They used the papers to wrap food, line the floor, or just toss on the street. At one point, the boys even calculated how long it'd take to become billionaires if they sold 100 papers a day. Turns out, the answer was 110 years, basically one full lifetime. Retirement plan, don't fuss, meanwhile, was obsessed with the printing machines at the press. Sunny, on the other hand, was enchanted by his grandfather's paintings. When the press hit hard times, everyone, boss and worker alike, had to survive on plain bread. It wasn't a bakery vibe, it was more like breadline chic. Even for Sunny's birthday, they had to substitute cake with slices of bread. As an adult, Sunny became a master forger, replicating famous paintings with precision so perfect even the originals might have blushed. Most artists stick to one style, portraits, landscapes, still life, modern art, but Sunny, he had to master them all. Because being fake means being versatile. That's why, when a buyer offered him 1,000 rupees for a painting, Sunny told him to cough up 6 times more, because perfect fakes take real skill. The next day, Sunny visited his grandfather's old press, where the old man was working on a painting. Knowing his grandson's talent, he asked Sunny to help finish it. But they both knew the real problem, sales had dropped massively. People didn't care about print anymore, not when they had online news and viral memes. Newspapers are out, scrolling is in. A few days later, the press shut down completely. Too many creditors were calling in their loans, while those who owed Sunny's grandfather had mysteriously vanished. With nothing left to do, the old man sighed over the wasted years and asked Sunny and Fuss to visit the debt collectors. One of them laughed and said, even if you had a lifetime, you wouldn't pay off that debt. Translation, you're broke for eternity. Still, out of respect for the grandfather, they gave the boys one more month. That night, Sunny and Fuss scraped together every last rupee, even planning to sell their bike. But after emptying their pockets, all they had was barely a tenth of what they owed. They weren't just broke, they were missing the wallet. And the strap. And the bottom of the pocket. Thanks to his insane drawing skills, Sunny was offered a gig at a knockoff clothing brand. Hungry and desperate, he considered it, but eventually turned it down. Instead, he made the bold choice to forge not cheap fashion, but cold hard cash. If you're gonna fake it, might as well fake money, right? In November 2016, India banned the 501,000 rupee notes and released new ones with next-level printing technology. These new bills were so secure that not even professional printers could copy Gandhi's face. It sounded impossible, but for Sunny, it was just another Tuesday. He spent a few days studying every detail of the note and then replicated it by hand with insane precision. When you're too talented, even national currency becomes your canvas. He even cracked the counterfeit-proof code printed on Gandhi's collar. Each note had a raised pattern so obvious, even a toddler could tell it was fake. But Sunny wasn't a toddler. After about a month, he had completed every component and assembled them together. Next came the printing. Lucky for them, Fuss was a printing genius. And for everything else? Good old Google. They needed a specific ink color, something hard to find, so they created a makeshift version using a complex DIY process. First, they scanned Sunny's drawings into the printer, then loaded the plates into a wooden tray filled with 100 steel balls to simulate texture. The goal was to make the patterns feel authentic when printed. Then came a chemical coating on the plate, a heat treatment, and finally, a cooling solution. After that, they scrubbed off the bottom layer to reveal the fake Canada Ghost ink. Yes, that's what they called it, spooky and shady all at once. Their first fake bill was done. They loaded it into the printer for mass production. But the machine was ancient, it could only print one color at a time. So after every color run, they had to clean the die rollers manually before switching to the next color. Basically running a counterfeit operation with museum equipment. Finally, Sonny used an industrial cutter to trim off the white borders, then carefully slid fake security seals into each slot on the bills. Just your average arts and crafts project, except highly illegal. The final step was crumpling the fake bills until they looked worn, then tossing them into a tray of tea and leaving them out to dry. The goal wasn't just to make them look real, but to make them look old and real. After all, shiny new cash raises suspicion. Too new, and people think it's monopoly money. Once everything was ready, Sonny and Far Eyes Roz took their handcrafted masterpieces to a liquor store to test the waters and celebrate with a bottle. Feeling sore from stress, or maybe just bold, he went for it. But the shop owner spotted the fake note right away. Man had eyes sharper than an eagle on Red Bull. The guy sent his goons after the two tricksters. Far Eyes almost got caught by two young punks, but thankfully Sonny showed up just in time to save him. The two of them ducked into a dead-end alley and waited there until the coast was clear. Classic rat in a corner move. Back at home, Sonny told Far Eyes Roz to close his eyes and guess which one of three bills was real. After just 2 seconds of feeling the texture, Far Eyes called it out. Turns out the problem lay in the paper. Figures. Even the Mona Lisa would look cheap printed on toilet paper. They say failure is the mother of success, and Sonny wasn't giving up. He just needed time to figure out how to improve the quality of their fake bills. So the duo spent the next several days feeling up every kind of paper on the market, literally. They fondled more paper than a printer jam technician, but after all that groping, their hands were peeling like onions, and they still had nothing. Then one morning, Sonny stumbled across a magazine with paper that felt just like real money. Jackpot! He began bleaching it to remove the original ink. They stuck 2 pages together to mimic the thickness of a real bill, but another problem popped up: color-shifting ink. Lucky for them, that was Far Eyes Roz's specialty. He mixed metallic paint with regular ink to recreate the effect, then applied lacquer to make the bills crisp and durable before drying them. Next, Sonny took Far Eyes back to the same liquor store to test their upgraded bills. This time, they fooled the eagle-eyed shop owner. They were so thrilled their eyes rolled back like they'd just hit the jackpot, or maybe just hit something else. With their confidence sky high, they met a local billionaire to pitch their counterfeit bills. Problem was, the old fox was hard to convince. So Sonny pulled a classic move. He swapped a real bill with a fake one and dared the guy to tell them apart. After scrutinizing the notes until his eyeballs nearly popped, the billionaire gave up. He couldn't spot the difference. Impressed, he ordered 20 million rupees worth of fake cash, with a 2-week deadline. However, he demanded Far Eyes leave behind a bag containing 1 million fake rupees as collateral. Yeah, nothing builds trust like robbing someone up front. It was a big loss, but Sonny accepted the deal. Sometimes you have to feed a fish to catch a whale. Still, Far Eyes was furious. He blew up at Sonny, worried they wouldn't find enough materials to pull off such a massive print job. Honestly, he had a point. This wasn't arts and crafts hour. With no other choice, Sonny visited his uncle at the old newspaper press and begged for help. At first, his uncle flat out refused. He said if Grandpa ever found out, he'd kill them both, maybe even bring them back as ghosts just to yell at them again. Sonny didn't argue. He just took his uncle to a restaurant and paid the bill using a counterfeit note. When the waiter returned change without batting an eye, the uncle finally believed him. He even offered advice on what they'd need to produce 20 million fake rupees. That night, the trio bought a top-tier printer to handle the job. But finding the right printing paper was another beast. It's regulated by the government. So Sonny went full rogue and hired someone to steal paper from a government factory. Because when life gives you lemons, you break into a lemon farm. They had to plan it down to the tiniest detail, because even a small slip could land them all in prison faster than you can say counterfeit. Watching from afar, Sonny noticed an unusually large number of guards that night. So he called in reinforcements to distract the cops by causing a ruckus. It almost worked, until one of the guards escaped and alerted the others. Sonny's crew had to chase him down, leaving Far Eyes alone with 5 guards. Not exactly ideal odds unless you're John Wick. Fortunately, Sonny and the guy with the pineapple haircut rushed back in time to rescue Far Eyes from getting his soul knocked out of his body. Once things were back under control, the crew gathered as much paper as they could and loaded it onto a truck back to their print shop, and just like that, their shady paper heist went off without a hitch. The counterfeiting operation was now in full swing, and on a whole new level. All thanks to the experience and guidance of Sonny's veteran uncle. From there, Sonny and Far Eye's Roz business took off like a rocket strapped to a tiger. They not only managed to pay off Grandpa's debts with interest, but still had enough left over to throw in some red envelopes as a tip, flush with cash. Well, fake cash. Sonny invited his ex-girlfriend out to a fancy dinner. Of course, he paid using their homemade money. But wouldn't you know it, just his luck, a specialist in counterfeit currency named Maker happened to be dining there too. She spotted the fake bill instantly. To make things worse, the news about the stolen printing paper had just hit national television. Talk about bad timing. After that fateful night, Maker filed a full report and handed it to her boss, Chief Michael Diet. But he brushed it off, saying they were only focused on the kingpin Manso. Small fry like Sonny? Not worth his coffee. Years ago, Michael had led the narcotics task force that tried to capture the notorious counterfeiter Manso. They tracked him for years, and when they finally got intel that Manso was back in town, they swarmed the neighborhood. Using elite training and sharp instincts, Michael's team arrested a guard and stormed Manso's hideout, seizing both the man and the evidence. But just as they were escorting the suspects out of the alley, the police were ambushed by Manso's gang. What followed was a full-blown street shootout, bullets flying, chaos everywhere. Several agents and civilians didn't make it out alive. And that was only the beginning. While both sides were caught in a chaotic shootout, Captain Michael stayed hot on Manso's trail. But it was his subordinate who intercepted the fugitive. Unfortunately, while giving an update, the officer let his guard down. Manso struck him with a helmet and shot him dead on the spot. In the end, the criminals mostly got away, while the police lost a valuable comrade. Final score, Manso won, police 0. Back in the present, since Mecca couldn't rely on her boss, she went straight to the chief of police, urging him to inspect all the printing shops in the neighborhood. That led them to the Grantee printing house. The chief called Sonny's uncle out for questioning. While inside, Sonny and Force were in full panic mode. They tried hiding all the fake currency paper, but forgot about the scraps in the trash. Sonny had to rush out to create a distraction before they all ended up behind bars. Talk about launching a startup and landing straight in court. Luckily, just before things went south, Captain Michael ordered Mecca to leave immediately. Close call. If she'd stayed a second longer, the whole crew might have been printing invoices from prison. Riches were just around the corner, but so were the cuffs. The counterfeit detection lab, a new mobile app, was developed to scan and identify fake currency. Thanks to it, countless illegal operations were reported across India. Seeing the massive impact, Michael decided to throw a celebration for his heart. He was partying with pure joy, not cash, because now you need to scan it before you spend it. But behind that smile was a man weighed down by years of sacrifice. Once a top tactical specialist, now framed as a murderer. Instead of being promoted after busting Manso's network, Michael got demoted for messing with the wrong people, those with ties to the criminal kingpin. Turns out, the hardest criminals to catch are the ones wearing name tags that say boss. The next morning, Sonny and Fuss drove out to deliver fake bills, only to get stopped at a police checkpoint. Officers asked for documents, popped the trunk, and found bootleg booze. They pulled the duo aside for a friendly negotiation. Final deal? 6 bottles of imported liquor and 30,000 rupees. Fuss, thinking about their bigger payday, told Sonny not to haggle with hungry Pikachus dressed as cops. Ironically, they almost got busted not for fake money, but for real alcohol. The drop-off, the deal went fast and clean. But the real storm hit back home. Grandpa had found out everything and kicked the boys out on the spot. The next morning, Sonny learned his beloved grandfather had suddenly gone missing. He and Phi Rot rushed to the police station, but the officers seemed more concerned with their Candy Crush score than a missing person case. Furious, the two went on a verbal rampage at the station. Citizens were reporting loved ones missing, while cops were busy missing headshots. In games.asa result, Sonny and Fuss got locked up overnight with actual criminals. Thankfully, Sonny's uncle came to bail them out. Later, Sonny found his grandfather safe and apologized on behalf of both himself and Phi Rot. Doctors diagnosed Grandpa with severe cognitive decline and said surgery was needed. Sonny realized his counterfeiting had caused immense stress and likely triggered his grandfather's condition. A painful lesson: fake money can bankrupt more than just your wallet, it can break someone's mind. Meanwhile, Manso was fuming. His fake cash empire was crumbling, and police were closing in. One of his goons brought in a fake bill made by Sunny and tested it using Mecha's new app, and it passed undetected. When your counterfeit is smarter than the anti-counterfeit tech, you've really outdone yourself. So, Manso sent men to kidnap Sunny and Phi Rot, dragging them to his hideout to squeeze out the secrets of making flawless fake money. Impressed by Sunny's talent, Manso tried bribing him with luxury gifts. But Sunny had already left the game the day his grandfather fell ill. Refusing to join, he was threatened, cooperate, or watch his print shop burn and his grandfather get silenced, for good now. Standing at the edge of life and death for his loved ones, will Sunny fall back into the game? And what about Fuss? Their fate awaits in the next chapter.